Thanks for being here. This is Truth Seekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truth Seekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers.
All these ancient prophecies telling us that the world will be transformed.
Wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? He makes all this stuff up and claims that it's all true. The aliens want to eat us. Be careful that they don't get you. It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal?
This is where if I have a live audience, I get everybody to hug each other. I say, give your neighbor a handshake or a hug, whatever you feel is appropriate to you. And that way everybody feels the love a little more. I will never believe it, I will never believe it. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you need 25,000 more years, I don't know, buddy. But look, this is really compelling information, and it's going to get a lot more intense. It's coming up in a couple days here on Sunday, so if you haven't already signed up, we have reopened the cart. We still have the payment plan in place.
Is there anything really major that you're going to drop here that you can kind of give people a little taste for?
Yeah, tune in tonight when I appear with David Wilcock. We're going to speak about some of my tour of the moon facilities that I haven't spoken about. I'm permitted to give a certain percentage of it right now, and more will be coming out in some of our documentaries and other material.
Did you ever say you lived on any other planet?
I've never lived on it. I've never said that I lived on another planet. No.
Did you ever say you visited another planet?
Yes, about the different, and it's different stories are part of my IP. Yes, we discussed Mars, the moon, even planets that aren't even in the solar system. You know, very similar to Star Wars, long ago, in a galaxy far away.
So you discussed going there in a fictional sense, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Never lived on Mars. No, never said that.
You never said that you lived on Mars?
No.
They would ship, everything was prefabricated. Everything had been put together on Earth, designed to go together like a puzzle by numbers. And I helped actually to build out an outpost on Mars. And we used a lot of the local materials on the surface after they had built below ground, and it was very much like this. It was much lower tech than you would expect.
Never lived on Mars. No, never said that.
You never said that you lived on Mars?
No.
Didn't you claim that you were speaking with Anshar at some point in time?
Yeah, that's when I meditate. Those are my guides.
Okay. And that's a future species living inside the Earth?
Yes.
And you communicate with them on a regular basis?
Yeah, and it's also a part of my IP and creative arts that we're making movies and video games out of.
So you're saying that no one else can communicate with them but you?
Well, yeah. Well, they're my spirit guides. They came from me.
And so you're saying Anshar is unique to you. No one else can communicate to them but through you.
Let's see, Anshar.
Just answer my question.
It's in my franchise Bible. It is my creation. I'm a content creator. My IP, trademarks IP, my IP, my IP, and my IP was my IP, my IP, my IP, my IP as my IP, on my IP. Intellectual property is my IP, just registered marks. My registered marks, IP, intellectual property as my IP, my IP, so IP is my trademarks, my IP, trademark. My IP, I created. Trademarked, my trademark. And IP, dramatizations, trademark. It's my creation. Why I trademarked it. Blue Avian, trademark. Blue Avian, trademark. My IP and my IP, trademark courts and my trademarks, my IP, yes. Stuff that I created, real IP, created a lot of the stuff. I created Darkfleet, my IP. On my IP, created out of my mind, my IP, on my IP, my trademark, my intellectual property, which definitely locks all this stuff in as a creation and my IP.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. What we have just witnessed is the stunning downfall of Corey Goode, one-time secret space grifter, who spent many years with David Wilcock pushing his supposedly true stories of his Buck Rogers-like science fiction fantasy stories where he time traveled and interacted with aliens. And we heard that clip where he claimed that he was living on Mars to build a to build a Mars base. And then stunningly, during a courtroom deposition, had to admit that he'd never even been to space, and claimed that he never said that he'd been to another planet or never said that he'd been to Mars. And this, my friends, is what happens when we peel back the layers of deception used by these grifters in order to sell false narratives. A lot of people lately have been asking me, why do I care so much about the grifter side of things? Several people have told me I should just ignore those and go to the good sources of information. But the problem is that almost all of these people out there are terrible sources of information. And what you get from them is falsified stories, fake stories, disinformation, misinformation. And there is a virtual flood of these type of people out there on the internet promoting their agenda, which is usually connected to a profit-driven motive. And certainly David Wilcock is no different. I wanted to show this one example of one of David Wilcock's supposed government whistleblowers or government insiders. The truth is, Corey Goode did work for the government. I think he was in the reserves in a technical component. So it's not like he saw any kind of combat or anything like that. He was a weekend warrior in the Army Reserves, I believe it was, in a technical job, something like IT. This is the quality of the people that people like David Wilcock will promote as a supposed government insider. And what we often see is that these people are not honest people. These are people who are here to make money, and they're here to sell you a narrative. So, I think that it's perfectly acceptable for someone like me to advise people that you have to be incredibly careful when consuming any stories from these people, because we've shown time and time again, these are not good people. These are what I have called UFO profiteering scumbags. And by the way, I know, I have a reputation for being so harsh about these things, but I'm going to put on the record and say I have no obligation to be kind to people lying to people. And, quite honestly, think about it in the context of your own life or existence. It takes energy to be kind to people. I go out of my way in my daily life to be kind to people. Somebody rings me up at the supermarket, I'm kind to that person. Whatever my daily interactions are. I had to visit the cleaners to get a suit cleaned. I was very kind to the person at the counter. But let's realize and understand that it takes a little bit of energy to be kind to people. And I'm sorry, but I'm very busy working father, husband, content creator. I don't have time or energy to be kind to these galactic grifters, to coin a term that I heard recently. So I wanted to play these Corey Goode clips, which we haven't used for some time. And I also want to put on the record that I was threatened viciously with lawsuits. And by the way, the threats that were coming from Corey Goode's lawyers were completely and totally false claims. They claimed that I had done something improper, unethical, immoral, or illegal by releasing those depositions. And let's be clear, anytime you see a deposition on the internet, it is of Corey Goode, it is because we here at Truth Seekers release those depositions at great personal risk under threat of lawsuits. And then for a time, there was another content creator who took exception to my covering Corey Goode because he was actually sued by Corey Goode, and he claimed it was unfair for me to make money covering Corey Goode if he couldn't. And, that person also claimed that I was only successful as a show producer or show host because I stole something from him. He covered Corey Goode very extensively before me. It's probably the reason why he was sued and I wasn't. His entire every day was covering Corey Goode for years and years. So, I don't really like conflict. And one of the things that I hate personally is when somebody tries to take credit for something that I have worked hard for, regardless of the peaks and valleys. By the way, if you're going to be a content producer or podcast host, show host, whatever, there are peaks and valleys. But I truly believe that putting forth a consistent effort is what you have to do in order to find any success with anything. So, just to take that attack vector away from this other content creator, producer, whatever, and also because we were under threat of lawsuit and Corey Goode had said something like, oh, well, if people take those videos down, I won't sue them. And, I just went, I'll take them all down. I don't care. But, I've had a lot of time to reflect on that because it's been maybe over a year. We took all of the Corey Goode material down, including the depositions, but I was okay with taking the depositions down because I knew that there were sites all over YouTube that had mirrored those. And they were also, some of the sites that mirrored those depositions were people in like Australia or England, which I knew that Mr. Goode would have a much harder time suing those people in a foreign country. So under threat of lawsuit, under attacks from bitter, jealous, angry little man, content YouTube guy, I just said, I'll take them down. But I had a lot of time to think about this situation because I have been doing a lot of hiking around the cabin. It's cabin time right now. And, I've been taking these long walks in the woods. Best thing to do if you have things weighing on your mind and things to think about. And so along this journey of doing this show, I certainly have made mistakes, and upon reflection decided that taking all the Corey Goode material down, including the depositions, was a mistake, because it sends a really wrong message. What it says is all you have to do to win with me and get me to take down a video is just threaten to sue me. And by the way, Corey Goode is broke right now, and I have various very good sources telling me that Corey Goode is desperate and destitute, desperate for money. Because of those depositions, you know, I think even he would have to acknowledge he lost at least half or three-quarters of his one-time very large following, because people sort of wake up and they go, oh, he's just doing this for money. This is all fiction. And he admits it. It's fiction. Of course, he has some convoluted explanation, which essentially amounts to him saying that he lied under oath. And he had to do that, or whatever nonsense he used to try to, you know, still keep the galactic grift going. And certainly, Corey Goode is just one example of the outright consumer fraud, in my opinion, that has taken place in the UFO community and the greater world in general. The fact that these people can literally just make up stories with absolutely no evidence, no backup, no pictures, no videos, no physical evidence, no corroborating witnesses, and make millions of dollars and then get caught doing, you know, saying, oh, it was all works of fiction, and nobody is prosecuted for that. It shows you that the laws in the United States concerning consumer fraud are vastly inadequate, and there needs to be some reforms of that. So, also, I suppose we do need replay material. So I'm going to be using some of those Corey Goode episodes as replay material. Now, just to be clear, I don't know what kind of schedule that's going to be. I suppose my other option is to just unprivate and make all those videos public again, and they'll just all be on my channel. You know, I haven't really decided. And, you know, I'm sure I'll face some criticism from a certain jealous, angry little man. But you know, I really don't care. You know, I have to do what's best for my show. And I also considered the fact that no one should be able to force me to delete history here. We did good work covering that clown, and we may cover him in the future. And I am perfectly okay with that decision, regardless of whatever criticism comes. You know, I always think it's great when somebody that's the laziest slob you know is jealous and angry because you're more successful at something. You know, somebody that does almost no work on their so-called content is going to tell me, you know, I stole something from him. And by the way, I'm going to put on record again that there have been many people who've come after me. Intel Lady, there's the Hidden Podcast. There was, I guess, several other people have done shows similar to my own. I don't have a problem with that. I don't own a subject matter. I don't own or have exclusive rights to covering any specific individual, and neither should anybody else. But I played those clips at the beginning of the broadcast just to display to you the level of ridiculousness of the so-called sources that David Wilcock uses. And now he's so burned by the Corey Goode fiasco, and even people in his live chat are asking him why he sold fake stories with Corey Goode for years, that now he's resorting to using sources like Shadows of Ezra, which is a Q-Tard Telegram channel. That's basically how bad it has gotten. And he's become his own secret space program insider, recently claiming that he interacted with reptilian aliens. You know, they abused him. And it's just completely and totally kind of ridiculous. I'm going to find a clip. And as I do that, we want to take a moment to welcome in the live chat. I also want to take a moment to apologize for Thursday's broadcast. For those unaware, just a few minutes before broadcast, we were having a huge storm here, a big windy thunderstorm. And I heard a huge crash like 2 or 3 minutes before I went live last Thursday. I got up, I went outside and looked. I thought something had, fallen down or broken. I don't know, but I didn't see anything. It was very dark, windy, so it turns out that some huge branches, big, heavy branches, came down from 2 very huge trees, which are on the side of my driveway. These are 3 to 4 foot tall, or excuse me, not tall. They're hundreds of feet tall, and they are 3 to 4 feet thick. So we're talking about huge trees. So some huge branches came crashing down off of them, and blocked the street and everything. There was I think there was 5 cop cars here. That shows you what kind of how busy the cops are in my area. So in any case, my wife came in and I knew something was wrong. I didn't see this fiasco outside. I just went back here and I started the show. And then it turned out my wife came in and interrupted me during the live broadcast. She never does that. So I knew something was wrong. I played a quick bumper and she explained to me what happened. So during the entire broadcast last Thursday, I was completely distracted because I was rushing, trying to get through the show and then go outside and deal with this nightmare mess. I was there for 2 or 3 hours, cutting up branches and trying to clear the street because the police informed me I could be fined if they can't get an emergency vehicle through the street. Unfortunately, all of my tools were at my cabin in the Poconos. So I was resorted to hand tools. That's how bad it was. Just not a good evening. So I apologize for being distracted, and hopefully, listen, in the future, if something like that happens, I'm just going to end the broadcast in private, the stream. That's what I've decided. We rarely have some kind of emergencies like that here, though. So in any case, I'm just explaining what happened. And by the way, we did get the trees removed. They're sitting on the side of my house. A large portion of those trees are still sitting on the side of my house, several tons of trees, and $4,000 later. That's what it costs to remove these 2 trees. They had to bring a crane, a bucket truck and a crane and all kinds of, one of those shredders where they shred the whole tree. They took dump truck and dump truck loads full of wood chips out of here, and they still have a great portion. Hopefully that situation will resolve itself. But back to David Wilcock, he is so desperate for material, and I think he's so scared and nervous of using another person for his so-called source. He always likes to have the source, and he can say, they said it, not me. They said this. It's like giving him a grifter out. But in any case, I have the clip where David Wilcock essentially starts claiming that he's his own.
These are some of the new.
He's his own government insider now, or excuse me, he's his own secret space program insider. Because recently, David Wilcock is claiming that he is part of the secret. He was part of the secret space program, and while there, he interacted with reptilian aliens who weren't very kind to him because he essentially said that the reptilian aliens butt banged him and throat banged him and abused him, essayed him, killed him, ate him, and then brought him back to life. And if you think that's ridiculous, you should hear what he's been saying on his latest of streams. It just gets stupider and stupider. Like the longer you go, it gets dumber and dumber. But let's remind you of David Wilcock becoming his own secret space program insider. But before we do that, let me take a moment to put my fair use banner up. We're still experiencing problems with Mr. Wilcock using a copyright vulture to copyright claim anybody using any clips from his show, which therefore will demonetize our show. But we also want to remind you that we're a viewer-supported show. So to make up for the $20 or $30 in advertising dollars we may lose, I'm not backing down off of this clown out there on the internet saying this stuff. We're going to cover it, whether he gets our streams demonetized or not. And by the way, those are false copyright claims, which may be illegal to do. But it is what it is.
These are some of the new briefings I'm getting.
So David Wilcock used to always say, oh, Corey Goode got a new briefing and we'll be talking about it at our next disclosure event or whatever. First of all, there's two terms that drive me crazy in the UFO community when I hear them. One is, well, really three. Whistleblower, because that term is used completely and totally inappropriately. Listen, you're not a whistleblower if you're telling stories on the internet for money. You're a bullshitter. So get it straight, right? Intel. I'm getting new intel. That's another one that drives me crazy. Sorry, not sorry. None of the idiots on the internet are getting secret classified intel and then going on YouTube and talking about it. They'd all be arrested. It's a completely and ridiculous concept. And the third one is when people like David Wilcock claim they're getting briefings, always implying that the briefings are coming from high-ranking military officials or people in the intelligence community are briefing them. And, you know, it's just so childish and stupid and ridiculous. They never prove who they're getting a briefing from. It's just a plot device. Like, oh, I need some new BS to talk about. I'll just say I got a briefing. And David Wilcock is an expert at that. Here he is claiming he's getting a briefing about reptilian aliens that want to butt bang people, kill them and eat them, and then bring them back to life. It is so stupid and ridiculous, but here we are. This is where we find ourselves.
These are some of the new briefings I'm getting. Hypnosis is a lot scarier than I thought, and it's been used a lot more than I thought. And so many victims are not aware that anything ever even happened to them.
Oh, so they hypnotize you before they butt bang you and kill you? That makes sense. And by the way, this is a transformative work. We're educating the public. We're critiquing the video that we are sharing, and we're discussing it with our live audience who is also chiming in. Charlie Ward Insider Club. Oh my God! Didn't that guy die? Charlie Ward? I thought he died. No, I get my news. Chuck Bam says I get my news from the Charlie Ward Insider Club. Oh no, it was the other guy that died, not Charlie Ward. He's still grifting. I guess Charlie Ward's still alive and still grifting. I can't remember. Robert Steele, maybe. There was three guys that were always grifting together. Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, and the third guy is the guy who died. He was American.
And I don't mean to alarm you. But it appears that this crap happened to me.
So here he is. He becomes his own secret space program insider. And isn't it a little bit convenient that right when the Corey Goode fiasco comes crashing down and everybody starts going, oh, him and Corey Goode were lying to everybody for 5 years, that suddenly he's recovering memories from his own time in a secret space program? Not at all convenient, right?
It appears that I was in a dialed-in satanic community, and it appears that I was abused. And that's one of the main things I've had to deal with over the last few months is the torture that I was put through.
Yeah, and I just want to say that grifting off of your following while you're claiming that you were tortured or SA'd is despicable. It's deplorable. It is the lowest form of low. Like, hey, feel sorry for me. I was SA'd by reptilian aliens. They butt banged me. Like, come on, man. And you're collecting money while you're telling people these stories? Not at all suspicious, right?
The things that I was forced to witness, the Draco's eating human beings. And Draco's eating my own body. Okay, one of the things I discovered.
Here's where it gets ridiculous. They could just kill you, eat you, and then they could bring you right back to life. Not at all ridiculous, right? Not at all stupid. How does that even make sense? But welcome to the wacky world of Wilcock.
Which is very weird, is that some of the technology they got in UFO disclosure, they could literally chop your head off and then zip you right back together and bring you back to life like nothing even happened.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So they could just kill you ritually in a satanic ritual abuse ceremony. And then when they're done, they just bring you back to life. So it's like nothing ever happened.
So there are some sickos who had children get eaten alive and then resuscitate their body from the dead. And that's what apparently was done to me, among other things.
So David Wilcock is now claiming that he was killed and came back to life like the Jesus resurrection, or is like a zombie? I'm confused here because this is so stupid. And, you know, every once in a while, I think maybe I'm being too harsh on this guy's followers. But listen, if you're this dumb that you're willing to believe this, and if you're even this dumb that you're willing to give him money while he's telling these kind of stories, I feel sorry for you. You are dumb as rocks, but that's not being very kind to rocks because, oh my God, Wilcock's followers are dumb as shit.
Because they abused me, and I am not happy about it.
Yes, and also grifting for money while you're claiming that you were a victim of SA by reptilian aliens is both ridiculous and despicable. It's an insult to every survivor of assault.
And if you think this is fake and you want to laugh at me, and you think that I'm making up abuse memories and that this shit didn't really happen to me,
here comes the crocodile tears. In order to really sell it, when you're trying to, you know, get super chats while you're telling people that you were brutally assaulted and SA'd and eaten and killed by reptilian aliens, you got to bring some crocodile tears with you.
I'm sorry if you can't believe that there could be a reality where this is happening, but I've been getting new briefings, folks. And a lot of
again, the term briefing. Who is briefing David Wilcock? Who is briefing David Wilcock? Where is he getting briefings from? Oh, I can't tell you. It's top secret. But I can go on YouTube and talk about it without any criminal prosecution whatsoever, meaning that this is all fake.
the stuff about the secret space program is true.
And here he says some of the stuff about the secret space program is true. I guess just not the Corey Goode parts that you spent 5 years pushing. He spent 5 years pushing Corey Goode's secret Buck Rogers stories, right?
Why was I waking up under hypnosis? Why was I walking out the door of my house in the middle of the night, hundreds of times as a child, and I couldn't remember where I was going?
Get a cry. I got to learn to cry on stream so I can make some money.
And at the end of the thing, they just make
maybe I can
walk
cry
back to where I
about all
was,
the money I'm not making.
and then the memory is lost. And I don't remember what happened, but now I do. Now I do. And I want revenge. I do.
He wants revenge on those reptilian aliens who butt banged him. Yeah, I would too, I guess. I mean, that's got to be horrific, right? I mean, I can imagine that getting banged by a human, if you're a man, is bad enough. But getting banged by a big, greasy, slimy reptilian, it's got to be even worse. And then they ate him, remember? And then they brought him back to life. Not at all stupid or ridiculous, right? Totally a true story.
I'm not going to lie to you. I want revenge. I want these people gone. I want these beings gone. They shouldn't be able to torture people like this. They shouldn't be able to do things to children like what they did to me.
And again, claiming to be a childhood victim of SA or assault or even abuse, it's just despicable that he would do that for super chats. But welcome to the wacky world of Wilcock, or like I say, make believe is real.
The things that I'm now remembering that happened to me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be crying like this. I'm sorry.
Shouldn't be crying like this. And Macario actually sent this to, sorry, his name escapes me, but we'll get into it. A huge platform just platformed Wilcock. We're going to get into some of that this evening. Macario says, this is amazing. You gave a platform to this grifter. This is the guy you pushed on your followers. He collects money telling people he was going to give them free energy and hover cars. Either you are grifting off a grifter or you believe this garbage and are insane. Wow. Yeah. So there is, we don't have many clips to go through tonight. We have very few clips to go through with the last stream. And there's a reason for that. And that is that all Wilcock has been doing for about 6 weeks now is repeating the same garbage, fake information, disinformation, and misinformation over and over and over and over again. So, you know, I don't want to just keep playing clips of him repeating himself. And Macario doesn't want to collect clips of him repeating himself. So that stuff pretty much gets skipped. But yes, and here's where it gets ridiculous. He's again claiming that he had a prophetic dream of Trump's assassination attempt. He just forgot to tell us about it until after it happened. By the way, there is a great many more strange things and conspiracies erupting from that event, and we may be covering that this week if I can get it together and collect all of the data. And here Macario says, David's ouchies from the fireplace are now scars from war. Does Ezra agree that Wilcock saved Trump? Because he claims it again. Again, fair use. This is a transformative work. We're discussing the ridiculous claims made by secret space grifter. Now he's a secret space grifter. And Archangel Michael contactee. Remember, the Archangel Michael is in direct communication with David Wilcock, telling him to take baths in his own piss.
So we are going to read a little bit of that dream again because it was fascinating. I had mentioned part of the dream that in my dream in June, a month before this happened, that Trump had gotten cut on the arm, and I actually do have scars on both of my arms. There's one right here that goes across here that was in, and this was what was in the dream. There's another one right here. Both of these came from
not even a med bed.
The fireplace when I was in my first winter here, and I was trying to heat with oak and pine, and I burned both of my arms at different.
By the way, I just want to put this out there because it's funny. I certainly don't consider myself an expert on things like how to survive a grid down event or prepping or, you know, wilderness survival. But I'm certainly worlds ahead of David Wilcock. Here, he just mentioned that he was burning pine in his fireplace. Now, anybody that has a fireplace should be smart enough to know you don't burn pine in a fireplace or a wood-burning stove. Pine has a great deal of tar and creates an incredible amount of creosote when burned. So if you want a chimney fire, you burn pine in your fireplace or wood-burning stove. And I just mention this because David Wilcock has, you know, he did a stream where he was like teaching people how to survive a grid down event. And meanwhile, he doesn't know that you don't burn pine in a fireplace because it's extremely dangerous. You could cause a chimney fire. He doesn't know that, but he's teaching other people how to survive. You know, the negligence. He could be having people burn their houses down burning pine, you know? It's just, and by the way, this is the man who claims he has a 180 IQ, which would make him smarter than Einstein, but he doesn't know that you do not burn pine in a fireplace. But here he is making the ridiculous statements that because he burned his arm on a fireplace, those are like scars of war.
Times on the metal on the sides of the fireplace. And I kind of looked at them as like scars of war, you know, that these are my stripes, if you will.
Scars of
what
war.
I've been through and where this is
He's
all
at
going to
war.
ultimately take us.
It's war telling
So
people fake stories.
I just had accepted that these were there, but then in the dream, he got cut in the same place. And in that dream, I was being trained on how to bend or stop bullets in midair, like Neo in the Matrix. And lo and behold,
he's like Neo.
It's a dream in which I'm bending bullets in the air, and then
he's bending bullets.
Nearly assassinated, but it stops, and I helped to stop it. So, does this mean that I was responsible personally for those bullets changing trajectory? It kind of sounds like it. We all have the ability to go into the astral body.
So here he is again claiming that he saved Trump from the assassination attempt. I'm going to say that again. He's saying for the second or third time now that he saved Trump somehow from that assassination attempt. He went into the astral world and he bent the bullet telepathically or moved the bullet with his telepathic superpowers. And remember where he got those telepathic superpowers from? He got them from taking baths in his own urine because the Archangel Michael told him that would work. And it did, apparently. And, he was able to use his piss-gained superpowers to save Donald Trump from assassins' bullets.
But apparently, because of all the lifetimes I've had, which we'll get into a little bit today, I'm a little bit ahead of the game of everybody else in terms of spiritual ability.
Yeah, Trump is lucky
telekinesis.
Wilcock was there.
I was asleep when this happened, when the shooting occurred. And so it's a pretty interesting thing that this all kind of converged like this. I don't really know what it means. I mean, it could have been somebody else, but the implication from the dream was that I somehow, on an astral level, in my higher aspect, was or at least partially responsible for making sure that the bullet didn't hit him.
So there we have it. David Wilcock saved Donald Trump from assassins' bullets with his telekinetic superpowers that he got from taking baths in his own urine. Okay, David Wilcock. And remember, we've talked about this pretty much ad nauseum. David Wilcock has such a bloated sense of self-importance that anytime anything happens in the world, he connects it to him. Everything going on in the world, it's all about him, friends. Now, David Wilcock has essentially admitted to his audience that his dog is dying, but he hasn't sought any, veterinary care for his dog. So people are very upset with this latest clip, which is kind of ridiculous. Listen, if you have a dog that's that sick, you take it to the vet. There are even calls on Twitter for people to report David Wilcock to the local authorities for animal cruelty. And I've seen those Twitter posts on some of these threads critical of David Wilcock. But let's see what he says.
Makes my dog nervous. She's pacing around upstairs. They don't like thunder in general. And actually, I had a really nasty accident with her 2 nights ago. She left black diarrhea all over the carpet, about 35 different spots.
Yeah, that means the dog is sick and it needs veterinary care, David Wilcock. You take it to a veterinarian if it's doing things like that. And by the way, black stool and a very dark black stool in a dog, I'm told, in what he's talking about, could be a sign that the dog has cancer. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a veterinarian. I'm just repeating what people are saying on Twitter.
A huge 12-foot area of this stuff. It was just horrific. And black stool usually means there's blood. So she might have internal hemorrhaging. I think she's very close to dying is my point. I don't even know if she's going to be here by next week.
Yeah, so he thinks that the dog has blood in its stool. What responsible pet owner would think their dog has blood in its stool and not take it to an animal hospital or a veterinary person? I know I would, but welcome to the wacky world of Wilcock, where you just repeat this stuff while you're grifting for super chats so people feel sorry for you because your dog is dying now.
But I've accepted it because, she's a soul and she's going to reincarnate. In the spiritual teachings I use, the Law of One, it says that souls that are animals are mind, body, spirits. And then if they become, first of all, animals are normally just called mind bodies. And that means they have kind of a cloud consciousness with the forest. But if they become a pet, and then the pet starts to have individuation, the pet has an individual sense of, I want you to feed me. I am hungry.
Yeah, we want to take pet advice from a guy who's not taking his dog to the vet, which, according to his own statements, the dog is very, very ill. I mean, it's just incredible to me that he's grifting for super chats based on the dog dying, but he won't take the dog to the vet. What does a vet cost? Like $100 to have your dog seen by a vet, and maybe $20 or $30 for some medication. So $130. The dog's not, the dog has so little value to him that he doesn't want to spend, or he's so cheap. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. It's just incredible. Incredible. We can grift off the dog dying, but we don't want to take it to a vet. And here is more of David Wilcock, who, people, like I said, on Twitter are accusing him of animal cruelty right now over these clips.
And that happened with our other cat, Mandy, where she came back looking human in my dream after my mother had to put her down because she was in such bad shape. Also, on the same day that Girlie crapped all over the carpet, she fell while she was walking. She's just walking and she just collapsed on herself. And that's another sign that it's very, very close.
So maybe he should put the dog down instead of just letting it suffer. This is supposed to be, he's supposed to be a spiritual guru, and he's letting some dog that is suffering just suffer without medical attention or, you know, anything. Incredible.
Matt Rav says this is extreme narcissist behavior. You know, you don't have to be here.
Somebody called him a narcissist in his own live chat, and he didn't like it. Let's play that again.
You don't have to be here. If you don't like what I say, if you don't like that I'm talking about myself, I'm not a narcissist. There's a lot of people who love me and want to hear what I have to say. So please don't bother us with that kind of nonsense.
It's nonsense that this is narcissistic behavior. You make everything about you, Mr. Wilcock. Of course somebody's going to accuse you of being a narcissist. You need 7 camera angles to do a live stream. No, you're not narcissistic, not at all. You're always bragging about your various ridiculous, stupid, supposed accomplishments and how you have a 180 IQ and you're so smart, right? But you're not a narcissist, not at all.
This is a very, very painful thing for me, and you have to understand that I'm doing this show in the context of this battle with mortality in my own home, where my dog is very close to the edge. So it's got me thinking about heaven and God and souls and reincarnation and ascension.
Yeah. And Macario says, this POS, we need a wellness check for Girlie. That's his dog. Seriously. He is letting her suffer, and he really wants people to feel sorry for him. Everything is material to grift for super chats to this guy. Like literally everything. My dog's dying. Feel sorry for me. Send me money. I'm not going to spend any money on the dying dog, apparently, but send me money. And then in the last live stream, he was complaining that he's only making $10,000 a month from YouTube. And by the way, all of his former business dealings are in the shitter. And apparently his only income is YouTube money, which is why he's actually streaming once a week now. The poor little rich boy is working once a whole one couple hour stretch in a whole week. Which makes me wonder, like, what does he do with the rest of his time? Imagine if your work week consisted of 4 hours of repeating the same nonsense over and over and over again. All you have to do every week is just repeat some nonsense, and you're going to get $10,000 a month. Amazing. Incredible. All right. And by the way, speaking of kind and generous people and those super chats, we want to thank Legal Eagle for a kind and generous $10 super chat. And thank you as well for being a member. For those unaware, you can become a YouTube channel member. And if you do so during a live broadcast, we give you a shout out and a thank you. And if you send a super chat and I see that member badge, I thank you as well for being a member. We thank all of our kind and generous benefactors, including Legal Eagle. This is a viewer-supported show, and we only need about $20 more in super chats to cover getting our streams demonetized by false copyright claims by David Wilcock and his copyright vultures. So thank you, Legal Eagle, for helping us to praise the cash. All right, we're going to continue on this journey into nonsense. And Legal Eagle said David really made some outrageous claims this time. He does every time, but yeah, they were specifically pretty bad this time, or good, I guess, depending on your point of view, right? All right, we're going to get to the next clip. Sorry, I'm losing my place here. We don't have many to get through, but after we get through the clips from his latest stream, we're going to go into this David Wilcock on David Nino Rodriguez channel. I don't know very much about David Nino Rodriguez, but he has 375,000 subscribers, so it's a huge YouTube channel. And people were asking that person, sending him clips of Wilcock saying ridiculous stuff and asking him why he's grifting off of David Wilcock and David Wilcock's completely fake stories. Foxy's Friends is here. Thanks for being a member. Says he checks all the grift boxes: Prophet, Insider, Briefings, Free Energy Grift, Hover Card Grift, Angel, Satanist Grift, Q-Tard Grift, MAGA Grift. Yeah, he's trying at least to cover all of his bases, right? Here we go. And during his live broadcast is when Wilcock learned that Biden dropped out. Wilcock learns, says Macario, live that Biden dropped out. When he hears that Ezra posted it, that's all the confirmation he needs. Shouldn't he have gotten the news from Ezra ahead of time? Why did the prophet hear about this when we did? Why didn't the alliance tell him? Great, let's hear it.
Yes, he did. On Newsbreak app, he dropped out. Holy crap. So Shadow of Ezra just posted about him dropping out. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. Talk about timing, huh? We're now up to 3,000 people. This is very exciting.
Yes, not narcissistic at all, but he has to announce how many live viewers he has.
I'm not at all worried about him dropping out because honestly, you know, we already had the Hillary switcheroo slide in there. She's probably going to be considered the most capable candidate, but you know.
Nope, wrong. They're going with Kamala, apparently.
There's a lot of stuff about her out there, and so if she starts running again, it's only going to accelerate the awakening.
Oh, it's going to accelerate the awakening if Hillary Clinton runs again. Hillary Clinton is not running, as evidenced by her endorsement of Kamala Harris. Yeah, and I'm getting a lot of people saying I should cover this political stuff, and you know, I'm doing my best to stay neutral. What people need to understand is if I come out and I'm very critical of Trump or very critical of Kamala, I lose half my audience. So we tend to avoid politics here. But I will say this, I find it extremely interesting that the Democratic Party, who has said that the right and Trump is a threat to democracy, just bypassed the will of millions of people who voted for Biden to be their candidate, and the Democratic elites like Hillary and Bill Clinton and Obama and Nancy Pelosi and others are just going to force the candidate that was democratically elected to be the candidate to drop out, and they're going to replace him. Carmen Burgess with a kind and generous $10 super sticker. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support, and also thank you for being a member. Now we need just about another $10, and we don't have to worry about the money being stolen from me by a man who lives in a multi-million-dollar mansion and only works 4 hours a week. Praise the cash, Carmen Burgess, and thank you for being a member.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, friends, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support, all of you. And we're going to continue. We don't have many left to go. We have very few clips this time, mostly because Wilcock has just been repeating himself ad nauseum for the last 6 weeks straight. And here's another clip. Wilcock always says he's not a racist, but listen, you know that old saying, if you got to tell people I'm not a racist, you're probably a racist, right? If you got to tell people about how you have black friends, you know, or I love people who are like, I'm not anti-Semitic, I have Jewish friends, which is kind of funny. I know I grew up with a lot of Jewish kids in the neighborhood and we were all friends. We didn't really care about what a kid's religion was, but that's just me. I don't know. We'll see. What does he have to say about not being a racist again? And here's another wonderful screenshot.
Created a worldwide civilization that lasted from 55,000 to 5,000 or 50,000 BC. So between that 5,000 year period of 55,000 to 50,000 BC, they became dominant all over the planet. They were, you know, they had a global civilization. And then there was another war, apparently with the Draco reptilians, that wiped them out, created the Sahara Desert. If you dig under the sand, you can still find all of their civilization down there between 40 to 400 feet below the surface. And that includes, believe it or not, statues that are very impressive that look like black people, where they have...
Oh, black people. Yeah. Then why haven't archaeologists found these incredible artifacts under the Sahara Desert if they're only 40 feet down, Mr. Wilcock? You know, the fake science only goes so far, Wilcock. You need some evidence of this. He says things like they're facts with no facts and evidence to support those facts.
Black features. And so, you know, the broad nose and the larger lips and everything looks like a black person. So, as I said before, I chilled with black guys from Harlem. I smoked cannabis with them, 420. blunts, White Owl, Philly blunt.
Yeah.
I learned raps, okay? I learned KRS-One, Guru.
Oh, I have to stop it there because we'll get a copyright claim from the music that's added. Somebody added the raps because he starts rapping during this to prove that he's not a racist, right? I'm not a racist. I love rap, right? All right, next clip. He's back to the crop circle nonsense and claiming that the crop circles are coming from the Archangel Michael, I think, right? Again, fair use. This is a transformative work. Wilcock thinks the aliens made a crop circle, repel bullets and Trump's ear. And of course, he has to let us know that he is linked to Trump through their ears. I skipped much of the garbage again. I might have even missed something, but 99.9% of his stream was repeated garbage. I agree.
By God, doesn't it look like stylized Archangel Michael trumpets? Yes, it does. They very much look like trumpets. We've had other trumpet formations. I talk about them in the Sacred Science.
Or it's a random geometric pattern that has nothing to do with trumpets. Notice how he always pigeonholes whatever he uses to go along with his Archangel Michael nonsense.
Of course, I talk about them in the books. And notice also that they look like ears, okay? Each of the horns of the trumpet.
Oh, this has something to do. This crop circle predicted the Trump assassination, but he didn't find the crop circle till after the assassination. So that's not suspicious at all.
Look like stylized human ears. You've got the outer part of the ear as the outside edge of the trumpet. You've got the triangles inside the mouth of the trumpet that look like the area in the middle of the ear that you get right here, okay? And then...
Does that look like an ear to anybody else? It doesn't look like an ear to me. I don't know. Does it look like it? Do we really think this is an ear? And he just got done saying that this is trumpets from the Archangel Michael, but now it's an ear? Well, which is it, Mr. Prophet?
Notice
Prophet with an F.
In addition to it looking like vibrations, you've got the same exact bullet formation. Bullets going towards the ears.
No, bullets have a flat end. Those don't look like bullets. They look like ellipses. What is he saying looks like bullets? My God.
This just showed up again on the 19th.
This just showed up. So it has to have a direct correlation with the nonsense bullshit that I'm telling people for weeks now. It's got to be connected.
A couple days ago.
Talk about connecting the dots.
Archangel Michael, it's the ear, it's the bullet. And this is obviously talking about the ascension. And so how this event...
How is this obviously talking about the ascension? It's a random geometric pattern, it looks like. A repeating geometric pattern. But that has something to do with ascension, Trump's assassination, and also the Archangel Michael. Conveniently, all things that David Wilcock is telling his stupid, dumb as rocks followers. And I'm sorry, but if you're listening to David Wilcock and believe in any of this, you're dumb as rocks.
Divine intervention is changing reality. They just showed us the crosshairs of the bullet. The bullet had this kind of football shape. You got the same football shape in the neck of each of these Archangel Michael trumpets. This is really mind-blowing.
It's not mind-blowing to anybody but David Wilcock. It's stupid. It's childish. It's nonsensical garbage information, David Wilcock, based on your assumptions, your supposition, your fake other nonsense.
I mean, it really shows American independence is right around the corner. The crosshairs, the bullet, and then we had, again, the most recent one, the trumpets would also look like the ear. I have the same scar on my ear. As I've said, it's a weird round circle here that I got in 8th grade from a pole.
Yeah, somebody clocked David Wilcock with a tent pole when he was 10 years old, and that means that he's directly connected to Trump. I'm going to say that again. Somebody clocked David Wilcock with a tent pole, and he got a scar on his ear, so therefore he's directly connected to Donald Trump because they have the same scar. It's so stupid, so wacky. Wacky world of Wilcock. Come on.
For a tent, it was a round little ring on the end of the pole. Hit me in this freakish way. It happened to hit my ear just right. It left this horrible blood all over my shirt. And now it seems like it's some type of karmic linkage
Probably
point
saved that shirt too.
between 45.
Remember, he was saving his pajamas from when he was a kid, and he got, the reptilians came for him. Creepy.
And myself, which makes sense. My life I was marked on my body for this event in the future that Michael already knew was going to happen.
Yes, so the Archangel Michael knew that the Trump assassination was going to happen, but David Wilcock didn't warn anybody. Why didn't you warn Donald Trump and the Secret Service and the local police? Why didn't you warn anybody if you knew that event was going to happen? And isn't it great? It's just like psychic predictions by proclamation. Oh, I knew that the Trump assassination was going to happen, and so did the Archangel Michael, who I claim to be in direct communication with, but I never said anything about it until after the event happened. A little convenient, right? Just a little bit convenient.
I mean, this stuff really, really trips me out. And I know you guys are with me because your comments are amazing.
This trips me out because you're stupid, I guess. It would only trip out a stupid person, Mr. Wilcock. So just a few more to get through. And then we'll move on to his wonderful appearance where, what is he talking about again? The solar flash event that's coming. That's what he's talking about on this huge platform. Great.
Listening to you, I've listened to you since Ancient Aliens started. What is Tranma? Tranma is a character I did last time.
Yeah, and here is a spiritual guru making fun of trans people. Wonderful. He's even got like costume pieces for it now.
I wore these pink glasses, and I talk like an Italian grandmother. I talk like this. I even have, if I ever really needed it, I've got the.
Wow, you see that shot of his head? I'm trying to get a better. He is really going bald bad.
I've got
He's got a bad sweep comb over going. Look at how little hair is on the top of his head in the middle there. Gross.
Wig to really add to the Tranma experience. If you want to go full Tranma.
He's going to need that wig soon. He's going so bald.
Doesn't really look right. I have too much hair for this wig. But I was thinking, like, how could I really make this character work for me? I got to have let's fix this thing up, right? Little joke about Maxine, right? So anyway, I'm ready to do anything here, but listening to you.
He's ready to do anything for super chats. Macario says, WTF. Wilcock says it. I really do think he would do anything to keep money coming in. Costume and fetish whip, now wigs. Trans might be right. And Osiris says, David is clearly desperate for money. Imagine if his YouTube channel got demonetized. He'd be effed. Macario, I would love that the team could go live on X and celebrate. And voices in my head. For those unaware, there was a long-standing. Remember when his hair was long and he looked like shit? He looked like he hadn't showered, shaved, or groomed himself in a year. A lot of people were saying that he was going to become trans, and there's still a rumor. And by the way, I'm just repeating what I heard. I'm not saying this is true, but there's rumors that David Wilcock will be turning trans in order to generate money somehow. Or I guess to be sort of shock rocky. I really don't know. But the Voices in My Head 100, Voices Head 100 on YouTube, or excuse me, on Twitter, X, has been posting all these pictures of David Wilcock as a woman, and it is gross and a little scary, And of course, David Wilcock's going to talk. He's a big Trumper fan. He's going to talk about talk about Donald Trump picking J.D. Vance as his vice president.
T selects Vance as his VP. He took a trip to I in 2002. He does not represent America first. He says incredible.
Yeah, apparently the Q-tards don't like Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. I'm really not up to speed into why that is. If anybody knows in the live chat, let me know. But the Q-tards don't like the VP pick.
Walk around Jerusalem, the eternal capital, and trace the footsteps of Christ. Maybe he saw the actual footsteps, like I showed you, burned into the rock. And they have a picture of him wearing a yarmulke, putting his hand on this wall. So again, the basic bottom line here is they said he's not America first.
Oh, he's not America first. So the Q-tards don't like the VP pick at all. All right, next clip, we'll get to that. I've got just a few more. More Q-tard nonsense. So Wilcock is pushing the Q-tard Telegram channel garbage again.
This was the next thing that was weird. It's at the convention on the 15th, Novus Ordo Seclorum, and I had just explained to you guys on the video last week what this actually translates as, and then lo and behold, it shows up at the convention. So this is another example of dramatic signaling. There's every evidence, week after week, that the Alliance loves that I'm risking my life to do this.
The Alliance is a fictional organization invented by a con artist, Pete Peterson. It doesn't exist. And here David Wilcock is claiming he's risking his life for a fictional fake organization created by a career con artist and fake government whistleblower. Remember, at the beginning of the broadcast, we played you David Wilcock's latest so-called government whistleblower insider, Corey Goode. Before that, he used a senile old man who also happened to be a con artist who ran pump and dump stock schemes illegally with a fake background and a fake biography. And he's the guy who invented the Alliance that Wilcock is so proud of that doesn't exist.
That the Alliance loves that I'm risking my life to do this with all the crazy stuff going on. Now it's beautifully sunny outside, but we had a horrible storm when I got started. My dog is on the brink of extinction. She just left all this stuff on the carpet last night. 2 nights ago, this black diarrhea. It's been very hard.
He's really obsessed with this black diarrhea, isn't he?
But I'm still fighting. I'm still out there. I'm still going to keep going. I had mentioned to you.
How is he risking his life telling fake stories on the internet? Can anybody explain that one to me? Like, you're risking your life because you're telling fake stories on the internet? We want to thank Amy WC for a kind and generous $5 super chat. Said, avoided coverage of this for a time, knowing a lot to wade through. So I do appreciate these laughs. Well, thank you, Amy WC, for your kindness, generosity, and support, and of course for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, we've got another kind and generous benefactor in the form of Legal Eagle, who is also a YouTube channel member. Says, hope this works. Thank you for your hard work, Stephen. Well, we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. And it's wonderful. Thank you for appreciating us. We certainly appreciate you. We appreciate all of you people helping us to praise the cash, bitches.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yes, my son is now asking me, by the way, Legal Eagle, if he can praise the cash or do some new work for me, because he's got to praise the cash enough to buy a VR Quest. So we're going to work on that. I guess I'll do some new bumpers with him. It's so funny being a father sometimes because I have anxiety about certain things. Like, I had a great deal of anxiety about the fact that my son kept asking for a gaming PC. And I know he wanted something decent to play the latest and the greatest games, so I couldn't just give him an old beater. I finally got that together for him, gave it to him for his birthday. And immediately after starting to play the games on PC, now he wants a VR Quest to link to the PC so he can play VR games. It never ends, friends. Let's see what else is nonsensical prophet of nonsense is talking about.
That Novus Ordo Seclorum was this prophecy that means a mighty order of ages is born anew. And I had just explained that, and then they put it on the screen at the convention. I'm like, wow, you guys, thank you. Thank you for the endorsement. They're not going to say it directly because they don't want to hurt me. If I got endorsed directly, it would probably cause a lot of unwanted problems for me right now. But
so now David Wilcock, not only has he claimed that he saved Donald Trump from an assassin's bullet with his telekinetic superpowers he got from taking baths in his own piss, right? Try to keep up. He's also saying that because he talked about something, the Republican National Convention put something on the screen as a nod to David Wilcock somehow. No, I don't think so.
the convention is using the pyramid on the back of the dollar with the all-seeing eye as their backdrop during Tim Scott's speech.
Yeah, that's an often used symbol. I really don't think that we can connect any hidden meanings to that, but what do we know? Let me share the next clip. We've got just 3 more, and then we're going to move on to David Wilcock's appearance on this huge podcast.
This was the next thing that was weird. It's at the convention on the 15th, Novus Ordo Seclorum. And I had just explained to you guys on the video last week what this actually translates as. And then lo and behold, it shows up at the convention. So this is another example of dramatic signaling. There's
it's dramatic
week after
signaling.
week that the Alliance loves that I'm risking my life to do this.
Macario says, I have listened to Wilcock spew his lies and BS for years, but he's really starting to annoy me. He believes that the Alliance, Shadows of Ezra, who doesn't know who David Wilcock is sending him signals. Now they sent one at the Republican National Convention as an endorsement for Wilcock risking his life. Gurley is dying, and it's hard for him. At this point, he mentions her 4 times, saying she's dying and suffering, but he's okay. Feel sorry for David. I'm not going to start having to do more here. Stephen from Canada, who's in Holland, this idiot needs to lose everything. Wow. Yeah, people aren't happy with him.
With all the crazy stuff going on now, it's beautifully sunny outside, but we had a horrible storm when I got started. My dog is on the brink of extinction. She just left all this stuff on the carpet last night. 2 nights ago, this black diarrhea. It's been very hard.
Oh,
but
it's
I'm
still
still
hard.
fighting. I'm still out there. I'm still going to keep going.
He's still fighting by telling people fake stories on the internet. How are you fighting anything telling people fake stories on the internet, Wilcock?
I had mentioned to you that Novus Ordo Seclorum was this prophecy that means a mighty order of ages is born anew. And I had just explained that, and then they put it on the screen at the convention.
Yeah, they put it on the screen. Yeah.
Thank you for the endorsement.
Oh, yes. The RNC are
I'm not
endorsing
going to say
David
it directly
Wilcock.
because they don't want to hurt me. If I got endorsed directly, it would probably cause a lot of unwanted problems for me right now. But the convention is using the pyramid on the back of the dollar with.
Oh, my God. It's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. Okay. Actually, last clip. And here's where we get into some interesting things. And by the way, I'll play the clip first and then I'll talk about. I called Stati Aerospace today and I spoke with Christopher Beskar, and I have some new information to report about Stati Aerospace and various claims made by David Wilcock. Here we go.
Elmo Bullseye says, congrats on the loans for Stati. Does that mean your finances are now sorted? Well, we're very close. We're expecting it to close. We've got all the final due diligence going on. It'll probably happen in just a couple days.
Remember, for 6 weeks now, he's been saying a loan is coming through to Stati that's going to solve all their problems and allow them to finally start producing hover cars any day now. Any day now. And he's been saying this over and over every week for 6 weeks. Still no loan, apparently.
So somebody was asking, how can we invest in Stati? We haven't actually ever done that. So anybody who's trying to call me a con artist, well, who am I conning? I'm not.
By the way, he's lying through his teeth here. He just said that we've never taken investment in Stati. They are right now being sued by one of their investors who invested $1 million. Stati said that they would give him back $5 million. They haven't given him his initial $1 million back yet. So he sued them in state court. And in that lawsuit, he called David Wilcock's Shady Aerospace Company a Ponzi scheme and an investment scam in the court documents. And here he's going to try to convince everybody he's not a con artist because they don't take investments. Why then are they being sued by a previous investor, David Wilcock?
How can we invest in Stati? We haven't actually ever done that. So anybody who's trying to call me a con artist, well, who am I conning? I'm not. We haven't even made it possible for people to invest in our company.
They are being sued right now by a previous investor in state court. We covered that extensively here. How is he going to say we don't allow people to invest in our company? Maybe you don't now after being accused of being a Ponzi scheme and an investment scam, but you did before. And how is a business that hasn't produced any products for 30 years staying in business if it's not running on investors? I'm confused.
And most of our investors are actually governments. We're talking to a number of governments. I'm not at liberty to disclose.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking to all these governments, but I can't tell you about them. And by the way, he makes several completely and totally false statements here. And I called Stati Aerospace to fact check these false statements, and I'll let you know what the outcome of that is after we hear the rest of this clip.
But these are very, very major players. NATO allies. We're not going to go with anybody who's not a NATO ally. We have to follow the rules of the State Department. But the point is, we are We have people on our board we have a naval admiral, we have an army general, and we have actually 2 naval admirals now I'm thinking of it. So
Yes. So David Wilcock's claim here is that Stati has 2 Navy admirals and an Army general on their board of directors. So I wanted to fact check him. So I called Stati and spoke to Christopher Beskar today and said, I'm calling to fact check some statements made by David Wilcock. Do you have 2 Navy admirals and a general on your board of directors? And Christopher Beskar said, well, we have 1 Navy admiral. And I was even surprised at that. But remember that nobody in Stati is being paid. It's important to point out that nobody at Stati Aerospace, this is our leaders, they're not being paid. But apparently they have a vice admiral, which is not a full admiral. It's like an assistant admiral, I guess, right? Vice Admiral Charles William Willie Moore Jr. retired as a director for Stati, joining the company in December 2022. Vice Admiral Moore is a native Texan, having been born in Midland. After graduating from the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, he completed a distinguished 36-year Navy career as a Navy aviator and rose to the rank of Vice Admiral. So, but David Wilcock claimed that they had 2 Navy admirals and a general on their board of directors. It turns out that's not true. They have 1 vice admiral. So what we know about David Wilcock is he always exaggerates, right? And by the way, this is an unpaid advisor, I guess, because they don't have any profits to pay anybody with. So is he a volunteer? And does Charles Moore Jr. know that Christopher Beskar is claiming that he invented the Star Wars armor of the Mandalorian? They named it after him. Does Charles Moore know that David Wilcock and Christopher Beskar are telling people that he built thousands of spaceships for the secret space program and worked in Area 51 and all of this black budget projects? Does this Navy guy know that David Wilcock is telling people to take baths in his own urine to get superpowers, and he's their director of technology, advanced technology, or exotic technology, is it? I don't think this guy knows what he's gotten into. I'm going to try to get an interview with him. So Charles W. Moore Jr. will be getting a call from me. And by the way, I started asking more questions to Christopher Beskar, who quickly rushed me off the phone and said, I'm not at liberty to give you any information. Send me an email, which is just a typical deflection technique. You know, if Stati was not a shady, scammy company, would their advanced director of exotic technology be on YouTube lying about having generals and 2 admirals on their board when they have 1 vice admiral? I don't know. But it's interesting that David Wilcock is lying through his teeth, claiming they have a general and 2 admirals. They have a vice admiral, which is not a full admiral, near as I understand it. But interesting that the CEO of Stati Aerospace is the person answering the phone. Now, let me tell you something. If you're getting multi-million-dollar military contracts and you're the CEO of a company, you're not answering the goddamn phone when people call, right? And by the way, anybody can try this. Call Stati Aerospace. See who picks up the phone. It's Christopher Beskar, the supposed CEO, which tells you everything you need to know about this company. It's not a real company. It's a shell game. They haven't produced any products or services for 30 years. And David Wilcock is literally lying through his teeth, claiming there's generals on their board of directors. There isn't. While, by the way, they are soliciting public investment, which is illegal. You can't claim that you have generals on your board of directors while you're soliciting public investment and you're soliciting people to loan the company money. You can't make false statements. That's my understanding, but what do I know? I'm just a successful business owner, unlike Christopher Beskar, who's been running this shady shell game with something called Stati Aerospace for 30 years, and their only income is from a garbage dumpster company. They haven't been able to make 1 product or service for the aerospace industry. But don't worry, as soon as they get that loan everything's going to change, right? AZ said, a vice admiral with a $25,000 a month gambling and hooker addiction. Well, that's very comical, so we will allow it, but we don't know that. So just to be clear, we're not claiming that. But thank you for your comment. It put a smile on my face, right? They have an admiral that is into vice, says Trolly Troll Troll. Yes. So we're done with the clips. We've gotten through them in record time for a yeah. And here's where there's some problems for Wilcock. Let me share my screen here. Apparently, David Wilcock said that they were trying to track all of the trolls that are saying nasty, mean tweets on Twitter. And Macario just says, Stati trying to track us all, they will never find us. Osiris says, no chance, Stati. No chance for Stati. A new friend of mine who works for the IRS is about to join our group of dedicated Wilcock critics. Macario says, a new member of the team. Nice. It seems to grow daily. So I don't know if that's true, if there's somebody that really works for the IRS that's going to be looking into Mr. Wilcock, but I think he's got enough problems with the IRS. Admiral Rascal says, Stati was around for 30 years. What did they do in all that time? Not like I'm going to get an answer. Exactly. What kind of company's in business for 30 years and it never produces any product or services for sale? How do you stay in business for 30 years? Well, according to court documents, you take $1 million in investment from somebody and then you spend it on whatever you want, and you never give the investor their money back, allegedly, right? Trolly Troll Troll says, before you know it, it will be time to let them go. Yeah. Above the clouds, he looks like he's into that. Archaic Revival, you guys are cracking me up. All right, so we're going to move on to sampling a little bit of this stream. It's on the so-called David Nino Rodriguez podcast. Somebody let me know in the live chat. I didn't have time to really do a great deal of research into this person, but it's a huge platform on YouTube with 375,000 subscribers. Look at Wilcock, such a narcissist. Oh, I'm on a big podcast. Awesome.
All right, folks, welcome to Nino's Corner.
By the way, we'll be sharing some of this broadcast. This is transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing and discussing the video that we are sharing, which makes this fair use and allowable by law.
TV, I am joined with one of the most brilliant minds of our time, David Wilcock. Dave, I got to say, I get a lot of guests on my show.
Look at him smiling ear to ear. He called me smart.
Man, and I got to say, you're probably one of the top 3 that I look forward to talking to. I've gotten your book, Source Field Investigations. Just really impressed with your intellect. So I just want to put that out there first and foremost.
Okay, so apparently the show host is an idiot. That's what it is. He's impressed by David Wilcock's nonsense. This guy must be a real winner.
So thank you for coming on the show, brother.
Well, I'm really happy to be here, Nino. I have certainly got respect for you as well. I like what you're doing. I like your content. And, you and I have a whole similar history, as we were discussing in our phone call, where you went through boxing and you had that whole celebrity thing. I've got the Ancient Aliens. It's on all day Friday and Saturday on History Channel all over the world on television.
We have a similar background. You were a boxer, and I was fighting
on the
bullshit.
street. People want to take my picture, that kind of thing. And
another thing too, folks, we're gonna have a jam-packed show in this podcast. There's so much that is
so he's
coming
a
off the top of
Q-tard,
my head right now that I
Thank
want to
you.
ask this guy. I'm sure a lot of you do too. I want to ask you, would you be the general in the general's tent for my audience to take questions from
So
them?
he's an idiot. Is that what it is?
Not this month, I have Elliot Marzulli, but next month or the month after, would you be open to doing that?
Absolutely, yeah.
There you go, folks. But first,
he's a Q-tard.
folks, let's get into
Q-tard
easy
idiot.
summer cool. All right, folks, recent forecasts predict that the summer of 2024 will be the hottest ever on record, with temperatures expected to soar into the triple digits in many areas. And 2025 should be even hotter, right?
Yeah,
If
you
you
can't stop
believe in that
smiling
kind of
like an
thing.
idiot.
This is why I stay cool with this magical little device.
All right,
I
that
love
makes sense. That's why he's got
that
Wilcock.
cozy
Oh, look,
air.
and Wilcock's drinking
Costs,
wine,
it
it
gives
looks
me
like.
savings and peace of mind. It brings me peace, folks. This device
This guy is
is
not
a
very
mini and portable
bright.
AC unit that fills my home, office, or even off the grid in my tent, which I never go camping, so I wouldn't know about that. With icy cold air, without traditional electricity.
Look at that. He starts his whole show with an ad read, and Wilcock's just smiling while he's selling some bullshit product. Great.
Let's start with we'll start with some ancient aliens, and then we'll go into the Mayan calendar. But I used to watch a lot of the ancient alien stuff. I kind of stopped. I haven't really
Wine
watched it
mixed
because
with
I kind of
pee.
figured out,
Yeah.
in my opinion, and I want your view on this, kind of where they're going with all this. I kind of feel like they're conditioning the
The
public
snapping dog
into
will-
this alien
Sean Ryan wannabe. Yeah.
play,
A cute
this
tart
alien
idiot.
card
Yeah.
that they're going to get ready to play. And I want your thoughts on that. What's your views on that? You were on the program yourself. You're very educated in this. What's your
Well,
thoughts
I've
on
always
the whole
wondered,
thing?
you know, the main thing we talk about with ancient aliens is ancient monuments that are made of large stone, which they call megalithic, lith meaning stone, mega meaning large. And
Look
we
how
see
smart I am.
megalithic
I know
architecture
the meaning
all
of a
over the
word.
world. There are
Great.
pyramids in China. There's over 100 pyramids in the Xi'an province of China. There's pyramids like Lalakan Pyramid in Indonesia. There's some pretty obvious pyramids in Australia that most people haven't heard of.
Yes, and humans built them all.
Then you've got these
So it has nothing to do with aliens or ancient aliens.
standing stones and stone circles all over the place in Europe, as well as dolmens, which are kind of like stone mounds. Barrows is another example. Then in America,
Good to know, Aaron.
of course, in central
Dumb as
Mesoamerica,
rocks,
you've
both
got
of
the
them,
Mayan
says
pyramids,
Michael
which is over
Orleans.
500 that are all amazing. But then in North America, we've got the mound builders. And so you can go to Ohio, you can see Serpent Mound. Cahokia, Illinois has a pyramid there. So we're looking at a worldwide pyramid building culture or cultures. And then it's also very interesting because if you go to Cambodia,
He's pulling out
and
his
you
old
see
stupid
some of the
talking
pyramids
points.
they have
Yes.
in Cambodia, there's certain examples like the Ta Prohm temple in Cambodia that looks exactly like the Mayan step pyramids. So we see a
It doesn't
worldwide
look
culture.
exactly.
And then we also see
It looks similar.
indications of flying saucer art in terms of, for example, in Egypt, you have the winged disc.
Yeah, because
and
a
that may be
circle
an indication
common
of a
shape
disc that
that
was
somebody
flying. They
might
just took
carve
disc
on a
shape and put
stone in
wings on it.
ancient times, right?
And
It's
then in
got to mean
Zoroastrianism,
aliens.
you see that their god Ahura Mazda also has a winged disc. So what I started to think about very profoundly was, could it be that the discs that we're seeing in modern times, starting, of course, with the Kenneth Arnold sightings in 1947, have been here all along?
Oh, yeah, you got to tie in modern ufology with the ancient aliens' flawed, fake evidence. Sure.
And that these ancient depictions of the winged disc, in those days, these people in the winged disc were actually showing up like we see in Egypt. They got the winged disc in Egypt and they got pyramids in Egypt. So were these people
Yeah, you're right.
actually building pyramids, and are they still
Circle
here
on a
now?
stone
So
equals
maybe in our
aliens,
time,
says Al Garay.
they're not building
Sure.
pyramids
Yeah.
anymore, but they're still here. It's a very compelling question.
Yeah, and you know, if you look at the Grand Canyon, I've heard that there's a lot of things that have been found within the Grand Canyon. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, those are all hoaxes. Nobody's ever proven. Some guy claimed that there was Egyptian artifacts in a cave, never proved it. But these Q-tards and other stupid people who don't require evidence, they just hear a story and they repeat it. So I guess this guy Nino is a former failed boxer. He seems like he got punched in the head a few too many times. If he believes anything Wilcock is saying, he must have got punched in the head a few times. A few too many times, I should say.
Yeah, most of that stuff was told to me by insiders. I don't know how much of it is really public, but yes, we've heard about, for example,
Oh, he's got
a
insiders.
massive
Yeah,
cache,
and that stuff's all over the
really
internet.
elaborate,
He
wonderful
doesn't have
gold
insiders.
treasure that was found in the
Oh,
Grand
he was a
Canyon
champion
that actually
boxer?
got
I didn't know that. I'll have to look
hijacked
him
by
up. Thanks, Aaron.
George Bush Sr., that he loaded it all up in a train and took it to an underground base. We also have, of course, the Smithsonian Institution
You're right. Art
was
Dizzle, too.
confiscating giant skeletons. They were finding giant skeletons in these mounds
Mountains are
all
mountain
over America.
buildings.
When Lewis and Clark went out and started to discover America, quote unquote, they would often find these,
believe it or not,
mounds as
level
they were going
insider
along.
information.
And when you
Absolutely.
would dig into the mounds, there would be giant skeletons inside. And then the Smithsonian just so happened to confiscate these giant skeletons. And you and I were talking about, I didn't even know. One of my insiders told me that he was at a military base and they'd gotten in a body, a fresh
I know.
dead body
He
of a
selected.
red-headed, I guess, 9 or 10 foot tall giant.
He's
that
very
had come from
selective in the
Afghanistan.
information he shares.
And then
He
all of a
doesn't
sudden,
wanna-
you're telling me you had people on your show talking about that. I didn't
he
even
doesn't
know
want to
that
bring
stuff
out the
was
woo
public.
too much.
Dude, I'd love to have you on with L.A. Marzulli. Yeah, L.A. Marzulli did a documentary on it and talked to.
Yeah, and by the way, L.A. Marzulli is a piece of shit and a coward. I'm just going to put that out there. L.A. Marzulli, you are a coward. L.A. Marzulli booked to come on my show twice. I was going to be very respectful to him, but I had a lot of questions about the fake information that he presents. So-called Christian ufologists. He talks about the Nephilim, and he makes a lot of completely and totally fake stories, fake documentaries. He makes a very good living selling fake information to Christians. And I'm a Christian, and I know a lot of the information that L.A. Marzulli is presenting is fake. So I booked him, and let's see, once he claimed that he got the time zones wrong because he was on California time, but I gave him I still have the emails. I told him that would be this time your time, this time my time. Then the next time he said that he got stuck on a plane. So he left me. L.A. Marzulli is a piece of shit because he left me for 2 hours. Twice he was supposed to come here and be a guest. And he made me wait for over an hour before telling me he wasn't going to make it on the show both times. I was live for an hour both times. That is a nightmare for a live show host, to have to fill an hour's worth of time while you're waiting for a guest. He did that to me twice. And then, by the way, the very next day, he was on Christina Gomer's show, right? So he can do those easy ones, those easy layup, podcast appearances where nobody's going to question you or challenge you on the fake information that you're selling. Yeah, Wilcock and Marzulli are from the same cloth.
One of the soldiers, I believe, that would actually witness this giant. He said it was agile.
Top funniest
stunk.
UFO clowns.
It was actually
yeah.
it was very fast. Killed a whole unit of men with a spear.
That was
came
a
out of a
story.
cave and was just
the Afghan
ballistic.
giant. Look it up.
And,
it was a fake story.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, that's exactly what. And then we hear about Nevada, the redheaded giants in
Oh,
Nevada.
you're right.
The Indians
You're right.
talk
Well,
about.
we'll give him that.
they
Then
were
he's a
in
good
constant
boxer,
conflict
but he's
with.
dumb as shit.
So to me,
he took too many shots to the head. He's dumb as shit.
Throws a monkey
You can
wrench
tell
into
he's dumb as
the
shit. Listen
evolution
to him.
equation for me. And now the only reason that is because these things were supposed to be 12, 15, 20 feet tall. These things were enormous. They looked at us as the size of grasshoppers, some of them. What's your thoughts on that? Like my mind, I don't know. I'm just saying my mind goes in so many different directions with this. When you
Christina
add
Gomer.
the giants into the equation,
He's a goober.
I ask myself, were they the Nephilim?
Christina Gomer, Goober,
Well, sure.
whatever.
The Nephilim is a reference to, in part, the Book of Enoch.
She had to
which
take
is
a
one of
shot in the
redacted
mouth from
books
you know
the
who
Old
to get a
Testament. It's
career.
around the same time as the Book
Arlene
of Genesis,
Atkins.
from around the time of Noah.
Several shots in the mouth, I
And
think.
when we
Ongoing.
see,
She's taking shots in
for
the mouth.
example, the original settlers who went to Easter Island in the 1700s, there was two different
Allegedly
races
taking
of
shots in
people
the
on
mouth.
that island. There was giant redheads, and in fact, the stone faces that you see used to have a little red cap on the top, made of red volcanic rock. And so those giant faces might have in part been as a tribute to those giants that were still living on the island in the 1700s.
Might have been, could have been, all pure speculation. And I love how these guys just weave together a bunch of fake stories from the internet as if that makes it any better, right?
And you're right, the Native American tribes were having a big problem with these giants all over the place, and they'd have to tip.
You know, I'm starting to remember, I do remember this Q-Tard show host. He was one of those people saying that Trump was still in command of the military, the Q-Tard nonsense. And he was saying that Biden was on a set This guy is a total Q-tard idiot. There, I said it. Hopefully the guy won't find me and knock me out. Apparently he's good at knocking dudes out.
Typically chase them into a cave, set a
So
fire.
he's
at the
dumb as
front,
rocks,
and then they would die of smoke.
as evidenced by his guest choices.
So this is a really weird
L.A. Marzulli
part
and
of our
Wilcock,
history.
and he's
And in
excited
fact,
to talk
with
to these
Ancient Aliens,
grifters,
we did a
right?
few episodes on it, but part of the problem they had, as they told me, is that it's been so
Yep.
little explored.
Single
that there
source,
isn't really
no
a whole lot of
evidence.
visual support. To
And
be
I
able
think
to
that
add
guy
into the
who told
show.
that
We don't
original
have a
story
lot
was
of
largely
images of these
debunked.
giants. And who were they? Where did they come from? What's this
Yes,
all about?
Let's go to
Well,
weave Pocahontas in.
the simple fact that they're
Only giant I
correlated
see
with
is his forehead.
giant monuments. They're not stone, but they're made out of adobe and clay.
I
in
agree,
America,
Arlene.
like Serpent Mound. Even Catalina Island, if you've ever been to LA, there's this beautiful island off the coast. They found over 3,400 giant skeletons just on this island.
He's
And
still
some of them
saying
were
that Trump
big
is the
enough
president.
that you could actually take the skull and slip it all the way
Why
over
does he
your
have
head.
to run again
Wow.
if he's already the president?
I've been to
It makes
Catalina
no
Island
sense.
many times. I have fun.
Q-tards, right?
I
He
Well,
has nothing
imagine
but
that at one
wackadoos
point
on
it
his
was
show.
literally just crawling with these giants. There were certain places that they really had a stronghold, and that was one of them.
You know, I saw there's a lot of reports and articles done in the 1800s and early 1900s of them excavating these bones and actually putting it in the paper, like
Yeah, those
giant
fake,
bones
mostly
being
fake
found. There's
pictures.
actually photographs of these things.
Mostly fake
And now
pictures.
just radio silence. It seems like anybody who even begins to unearth these things, they're shut down immediately. Correct?
Oh, it's all a big cover
Yeah,
up.
I mean there was
Yes.
there were museums that had the giant skeletons on display, and another thing is many of these mounds also included giant tools. They found giant battle axes. They found giant chalices.
What is the source
There's
for this?
An archaeological
Where's
dig
the
in the Middle
proof of
East
this?
where they found a bunch
These people just love fake, unverifiable stories, right? Evidence-free, unverifiable stories, but it's all true.
of severed giant hands. The hands were really large, all buried in a mass grave. So this was a worldwide phenomenon.
Third term
And at least in the
baby.
Americas, it's
Says
directly
Storm Crow.
associated with pyramids.
We don't know that,
Now.
but he is a little soft in the head.
So
We'll give
the
him that.
inside intel that I've heard on it,
Yeah,
for what
brain
it's
trauma
worth,
can change a person's
is that you
personality
did
for
have
sure.
extraterrestrial humans who were coming here,
Giant piles of
and
poop.
they were
Yeah.
breeding these originally as sort of like a soldier
He
race
read it in a giant
to
book.
prevent anybody from being able to
The
invade
giant
where they were
screwdrivers
living.
freaked me out, says Storm
So you
Crow.
might have a race of extraterrestrial
Tell us more,
humans
David. We
around
believe
the pyramid,
anything. Yes.
and then the giants were something
the
that
land
they
of
used
make-believe
advanced
clip.
genetic tinkering
Yes.
to produce, and that's why they have two sets of teeth. There's a certain haplotype that you get. It's a certain genetic profile, and when you begin mixing human DNA with DNA that isn't quite human, you get these genetic defects, and one of the defects that it can produce is the double sets of teeth.
So let me
So
ask you
this
this:
appears-
is it outlandish to think that maybe they were created to build the pyramids, the giants? I
Oh
mean,
my
That's a really
God.
good point, man.
you know,
Oh,
'cause
yeah,
they're
could have
so
been humans. Had to
monolithic,
be.
They're so huge. Could they? I mean, you would need immense strength to move these 10-ton, even more than that size boulders or blocks of bricks or whatever that you want to call them. So wouldn't it, to me, common sense says, well, maybe they use the giants as the workers to build these.
That's a brilliant idea, yeah. And
You know what I'm
I
saying?
wouldn't
I
be
would
surprised
imagine.
at all. If you go to Laos, which is a country right near Vietnam, there's another really amazing thing. And maybe you can pull up some of these images for post-production here. It's called the Plain, Plain, of jars. And it's in Laos, and people still go there now. You can climb on these things, but what you have are these massive, massive jars that maybe at one point they had corks on them, but they
Oh,
look
big
like they're built
jars.
to hold maybe oil
Big
or
jars.
food or water or something, but they're extremely large and no regular person could pick them up because in some cases they're like 7-8 feet tall. But giants could work with these a lot more easily. So there's literally evidence for this all over the world. And the giants also have the elongated skulls, which is another
Oh,
thing that's
come on.
consistent with shorter humans
Cranial
that
deformation.
we see all over the world, like in Mesoamerica, directly next to pyramid
You
building.
gotta love
sites.
it when people that know nothing
If you
about
think about it,
anthropology,
you know,
evolution, or history.
From what the
Just
soldiers said,
do
it didn't
research by
seem
proclamation.
like these giants. I mean, they're still living in caves. They have primitive type of armory. They have weapons that are kind of
Amazing,
primitive.
man.
So they're obviously not, in my opinion, I'm just guessing here. They're not that smart. So it seems like they would use them for the manual labor. Right. So
He loves them because they're like giant pea jars. Makes sense.
Stones or whatever they were used to do. If they aren't that intelligent in the first place, because supposedly the Kandahar giant came out screaming some gibberish. It was nuts. It was violent. And it was very, very violent. Maybe some of them, escaped or got away. They're not used as slaves anymore. They kind of went on their own. They went underground into some caverns. I don't know. I'm just posing questions here.
This is my theory. And I'm not saying this is based on any actual inside intel. This is just my speculation.
Oh, he's going to admit that he's bullshitting.
There was a worldwide civilization, colloquially referred to as Atlantis, and that during that time they were building
giants aren't dumb.
pyramids, as we can see. Some of them are under the water.
Yeah, that's what people say. 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes.
A bunch of submerged pyramids off the western tip of Cuba that was found by Paulina Zalitsky with her subsonar equipment when she was looking for shipwrecks. So we know that there was some sort of ancient pyramid building culture that was apparently worldwide. And maybe a lot of the pyramids that we see came after this great flood.
Idiotic delusional clown, says Builder Lee 72. You can't say I disagree.
So if that's true,
Kandahar
then
giant
perhaps
from
they
space.
had a lot more of these giants in the past, and there was a society where they were using them openly. And then when you have this massive catastrophic flood, you have breeding populations of giants that survived on their own. But like you said, they're kind of unintelligent. And maybe they, built
Wilcock
these
is calling
mounds as a
somebody
way
else
to
dumb.
commemorate their former
That's
culture
pretty rich.
and hoping that it would rise again. But they really are not that smart, and they just kind of died off for the most part and survived in these small packets. And unfortunately, they were very antagonistic to humans and saw us as a protein source.
Right. And so we were able to outsmart them because they're dumb. And that's how we beat them, because they were using us to eat. They were eating us. They needed the caloric intake is what I would think. So what's your thoughts on what do you think these pyramids were actually used for? Energy sources? I know that a lot of them.
I love when people start talking about the pyramids and it's just complete and total speculation, no science whatsoever. There's people making whole careers out of this. It's disturbing to me. The fact that you can make a whole career just bullshitting about what the pyramids really are and have no real evidence to back up any of your claims.
Some are on ley lines, correct? They're on nodes on the planet, so they knew something. They were used for something for other civilizations. What do you think these pyramids were actually used for?
Well, that brings up a bunch of interesting stuff. So let's talk about the global grid, because the first way that we defined the global grid was the work of Ivan T. Sanderson. And in the 1950s, he went out to the Republic of Congo and he studied the Mokili Mbembe, which is this strange, like apatosaurus type of thing, like a small brontosaurus that would show up.
Now we're into brontosauruses are real.
They would actually kill the dinosaur and eat it for meat.
We're at Land of the Lost.
And this is in Headhunter country. The Pygmies live there.
No,
so
he's just grifting, trying to find new followers.
Unincorporated, unexplored forest.
Here's what I think.
Nobody wants to go in there.
I think Wilcock goes on shows with the dumbest followings possible, like Dana Patrick and this guy, because he's hoping they'll go subscribe to his nonsense channel. That's what I think. And Wes Snipes, thanks for being a member, says Wilcock obviously hasn't seen Andre the Giant yet. This dude is taking notes. WTF. Paleontology. Yes, he's an expert at that as well. He's an expert on everything.
Because again, they'll kill humans and eat you. But this is where you have this weird dinosaur. So Sanderson went and studied that dinosaur.
Wacky ramble on and on.
Came to the conclusion that yes,
cooked dinosaur just like bison.
Perhaps there are vortexes.
I forgot the steak
where
again.
You can actually portal through time and go from one era of history on Earth to another. And he then began studying, okay, where did the ships and the planes disappear on Earth? Where are these mysterious disappearances happening? And the one we've heard the most about, of course, is the Bermuda Triangle, because in that area alone, you have, 5,000 disappearances just in the 20th century alone. You have airplanes, you have ships on the sea, and he found that there were a total of 10 of these areas around the world and they were symmetrically spaced apart from each other. And then also you can add the North Pole and the South Pole, you get 12 zones. Well, if you play connect the dots and you connect those 12 zones together, you get a simple 20-sided geometric shape called an icosahedron, each side being an equilateral triangle. Well, that would suggest there was some weird hyperdimensional geometry involved in why these dinosaurs are appearing, because that's where the dinosaurs are appearing, is on one of these nodes.
Appearing dinosaurs.
Also where
You gotta love
the
it.
planes are disappearing. Then we go over
Appearing
to
dinosaurs,
Russia, where
damn it.
3 scientists, Goncharov, Morozov, and Makarov, inverted this icosahedron. You can geometrically do that, turn it inside out. It turns into a shape that has
Icosahedron?
12 faces that are pentagonal. They look like 5-sided pentagons, like a soccer ball. And when you actually simply draw the Earth with those two shapes put together, the icosahedron and the dodecahedron, which these Russian scientists did in 1971, they published this, they found that every single pyramid on Earth, every single megalithic piece of architecture is on this, what they call
been watching
global
Jason
grid.
and the Argonauts and taking notes.
That's very, very
Yes,
strange, because
absolutely.
again, what we're talking about is strange phenomena. You'd see orbs of
Yes.
light in these vortex areas. You have planes that
They
might
don't
fly into the orb and then they disappear.
Facts, without any facts.
Sometimes these orbs of light are associated with anti-gravity, like cars get
Going
stuck in them and they
forward,
levitate off the
yeah,
ground.
full artard.
There's a beautiful book
Already
called
went full
Time
putard.
Storms by Jenny Randalls.
Yeah,
which
funny
has
that
got some
Draco never
examples
showed
of
him.
levitation.
Too
So
busy butt banging him.
it appears that the vortex lines,
they were interested
these
in the butt
global grid
banging.
lines, also
Blowing
create
fleece on his
anti-gravity. They can create these orbs, and the whoever extraterrestrial beings were here were using
Get him to talk
that
about Steve
natural
Cambion on his
anti-gravity
live
to
stream,
help build
AZ.
these
Good
pyramids.
job. But get him to talk
And
about
so
truth
you couldn't
seekers.
even build them without being on the grid.
I'm wondering if Skinwalker Ranch is on one of these nodes, or
Now we got to bring in the Skinwalker
there's so
scam.
much
That's how we
paranormal
really
activity that has there. So
connect the
maybe
dots
there's
here.
pyramids there that we don't even know about on that
Oh my
ranch,
God.
right?
Which
Wouldn't that be
one's
logically
dumber?
what-
Should we
that's
put
where
up a
my mind
poll?
goes.
Let's put up a poll.
Well, you don't
Who's
have to
dumber,
have
the show
pyramids.
host
The
or
point is the
Wilcock?
lines, the ley lines,
Let's
as they
do
were
that.
called, they
We're
already
going to
worked.
do that.
And the guy who's the father of ley lines in the early
I'm going to
20th
put that
century
poll up.
mapped them all out. And
Figure
what he
this
found
out.
was
Who's dumber, the
nobody
show
ever
host
tells you
or
this, but
David
they were
Wilcock?
building, in modern times, they were building churches, abbeys, and cathedrals on these same ley lines.
Wow.
And they kind of alluded to it in Da Vinci Code when they talk about Roseline Chapel, right? It was built on the Rose Line. Well, what are these lines? Well, it also appears that when you're on one of these lines, if you build something there, you can get interdimensional activity, and both positive and negative entities can come through much more easily in these areas. So people who are messing around with ritual magic, if you want to summon demons, it's much, much easier if you do it on the global grid than somewhere else.
Oh, you got to summon demons.
And even
doing
in
on the global grid,
1972,
for
there
sure.
was a case where Stonehenge got struck by lightning. There was a police officer and a farmer walking towards Stonehenge. There was some hippies tending inside, and they were about to be arrested because the farmer didn't want them there on his land. The lightning strikes the stones. The entire area of Stonehenge got to be blindingly white. All the hippies are screaming. And then it suddenly flashed and everything disappeared. And when they went inside, there was nothing left but smoldering tent pegs. All the hippies were gone.
Wow.
So it does appear that pyramids and stone circles are used on the grid as a portal generator, that they harness energy and they can create these orbs of light. But yeah, like with Skinwalker Ranch, you don't have to build a pyramid. It's just going to be much, much easier to get the vortexes to form if you do.
What about something like CERN?
All right, we started a poll.
Okay, so that's obviously.
Let me know what you think. Who is dumber, the show host or David Wilcock?
Man-built, some kind of generator. What's your thoughts on CERN? Is that
Hippies
on
blinded by the light.
a ley
Yes.
line or a node? Is that also in an important area on the planet, or is that just something?
You're right,
that's-
Chuck Bam.
am I just kinda
Absolutely.
thinking out of the box or too outlandish?
No, I haven't actually
Wilcock
checked on that, but
from
that would
now
be a
on.
great
Yes.
follow-up for research, would be to check where CERN is and look and say to yourself, okay, is it on one of these ley lines? And I'm
You're right.
sure it probably
It's
is.
be
because
muted in this chat
what they're
because he's
doing
an
there is
intellectual
it's a
weak
particle accelerator. They're
He
creating
knows he sells
a
nonsense.
very rapid
He cannot
acceleration of
debate me, I would
subatomic
destroy
material.
him. I would
And
leave
when
him
you
in a
smash
puddle
it
in his own
together,
piss, but he would probably
yeah,
like
that's
that.
exactly the type of high energy environment that
The
creates
show
order.
host is probably dumber.
And
Yeah.
so I wouldn't at all be surprised. In fact, there's a lot of
Too tart
indications
for the
that
grift.
CERN has been used
Wilcock full of S.
by the dark
Yes.
elements of our planet to
Bum
try
as
to
a
create
fox.
manifestations.
Yes.
And honestly, if they're running it and then somewhere nearby they're trying to be able to see spiritual entities, we wouldn't know how successful that was.
Because you can't do that, Wilcock.
But it is also very strange that back in the days of the medieval times, they would ring a bell on like a Saturday night, and that bell was supposed to indicate that people in their homes were supposed to have romantic activity. And apparently the romantic
Talk about stupid facts. They would ring a bell, and then you're supposed to bang during the bell ringing.
activity also generates more of this energy for them to do these weird occult ceremonies where they're trying to travel through
Oh my
time.
God. He's saying that the
And
church
apparently
would
they
ring the
could,
bell so
in these
everybody would bang
ceremonies,
so that they could
invade
do dark
somebody's
magic.
mind in the past. Like, let's say you go in these ceremonies, you harness all this
Utter
energy,
grifts
everybody's
too. Yes.
engaging in these activities at the same time. You create all this energy, then somebody goes out of body.
Oh, that's
and
sad,
they find
Aaron
like a
Flores.
bum passed out in a haystack from maybe 100 years ago.
I
And you
thought
can then
everybody would still
occupy
say
his body,
Wilcock.
just like the agents do
That
in the
show host
Matrix,
might be dumber than him.
and then get him to go and kill somebody, and thus change the future.
No, we're up
Get
to the
rid of
show
somebody you
host.
don't want. Maybe get
So
rid of
far,
their
the
father.
show host is
And
leading
the only person
as
who
being the
remembers
dumber
the
one,
old timeline
69%.
supposedly is the person who actually did this.
69%
This is
of
the
our
type of
audience
weird
says the
occult
show
magic
host
that
is
some
dumber than
insiders have
Wilcock.
said they were really playing around with. There's so many mysteries that we just
And
don't know.
I just want to mention, like, how dumb do you have to be for people to think that you're dumber than David Wilcock? Apparently pretty goddamn dumb. Yes.
The answers to, but it
I'm sorry. You know, the guy's a child of God. He maybe got hit in the head too much. Aaron Flores said he admitted that he got hit in the head too much and it affected his brain. Then I feel bad for making fun of him as being this dumb then.
all
you know?
does tie back to the grid and the summation of these vortexes and how they can be created, and the fact that you can travel.
I love how the show host is taking notes from what David Wilcock is saying. Like, wow, this bullshit is so important. I better write this down. This utter nonsense is so important. I better write this down because this is important. Bullshit.
through them as an astral body and actually go into the past or the future for that matter.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit to the Mayan pyramids, because I really wanted to touch on that, because I was looking forward to 2012.
Right,
I was like,
Chuck
man,
Dan.
something's gonna happen. Their calendar is just too precise, too exact.
Oh, he was dumb enough to believe Wilcock's
hiked
2012
the pyramid
prediction.
before, when I had a fight down in Cancun. I went to the Chichen Itza pyramid, and
Oh, nice.
I hiked it in the middle of the night, and I smoked a big bowl up there with an Indian that I met on
Well,
top
thank you
of
for
it.
sharing.
Yeah, it's cool. And I was up there, and I just remember that.
You're right, Admiral Rascals.
That he told me, he goes, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening. Time.
Yeah, I don't know how people fall
This is
for
a true
this.
story. This is a 100%
believe
true
you.
story. It was after
Yeah,
one of my fights.
gullible, but the host is
We
very
stayed
dumb.
in the park illegally. We should have left. We stayed there, me and all my friends. We dared each other to hike the mountain. We did. It was a full moon. Hiked the steps.
Wow.
It's a serious climb, dude, going up that thing.
Yes,
And,
he has
I
a
get up
180
there, and there's
view,
this
so he's so
Indian guy
smart.
up
You
there,
should
and-
take
and
that.
we hung out with him. Me and all my friends hung out with him, and we sat and talked with him. We smoked a big fat bowl, and we looked at the jungle, the mist, everything. It was amazing.
Sounds incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And I kept thinking to myself, what's going to happen in 2012? I think around when this happened, it was 2004, 2006. But he gave us a lot of, I felt like he really gave us, he was a wealth of knowledge. He dropped a lot of truth bombs, educational bombs on us that we were just like blown away. I always
Goes
wondered,
along with
what's
his
gonna happen in
reviews, yes.
2012. I feel
They
like
know
it
it's
happened.
loadable.
I feel like there was a shift. I feel like there was a universal consciousness shift that happened, that maybe time and space sped up. What's your thoughts? I mean, a lot of people, the world's going to end, this is going to happen, that is. But in a way, it was like, to me, it felt like 2012 was like the marker of the timeline that just kind of went click, and we are now in this new paradigm.
Yeah, I wonder if the show host knows that David Wilcock predicted that we'd all get superpowers in 2012 and rainbow light bodies, and we'd be able to telepathically communicate with each other, and we'd be able to levitate. David Wilcock made an insane amount of stupid predictions, none of which happens. And now the host is asking him about 2012. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, it was only a month or two after the Mayan calendar end date that we had all the Snowden revelations about mass surveillance.
Boom.
And up until then, nobody really believed in.
So the Mayans were predicting the Snowden revelations with their calendar? Sure.
Some type of greater surveillance state. It was considered a conspiracy theory. You'd be laughed at. Whereas now it's just common knowledge. Oh, yeah, you know, they're watching you through your laptop.
That's good to know, Craig William.
The camera on your cell phone.
You got to personalize it, making it about you.
Data capture. They transcribe everything to something like Siri that you're saying.
Two morons
files on everybody.
Beings.
That's a very fundamental shift in the way that everybody sees life on Earth. And it happened within
that's why the world didn't end, Tyblee. Yes.
Of the Mayan calendar end date. So to me, that was a very
he knows what he's
shift.
Doing while being dumb at the same time.
Now let me ask you this: I can't remember the professor's name, but there was a guy. I believe he was.
And look at Wilcock is drinking wine, apparently, or at least he's drinking something from a wine glass. It looks like wine.
Steps on it. So he was saying that each step.
Didn't he say on his own streams he doesn't drink or do any drugs, but then he always talks about smoking some cannabis, falling off the wagon? But here he appears to be drinking wine. That's interesting to me.
Level of the pyramid represented
pouring himself another glass. Like, I got to get drunk if I'm going to talk to this dumb show host, right?
Consciousness shift or an evolution in consciousness or a spontaneous jump in consciousness. He said the last step, the very last step would be universal consciousness. That's when we reach universal consciousness. But the first step was like
he thinks, yes.
The 4 billion.
Sounds like he smoked a rainbow
3
light
billion
bulb.
years of whatever of consciousness.
Yes.
Then it jumps to 180 million years. I got the numbers wrong, by the way. 180 million years. And the next step is there are leaps of consciousness in the human psyche. So every step was a representation of human consciousness to the very top. He said that's what he believed the Mayan calendars represented. And at the very top was universal consciousness, which was 2012. I found that to be
105
very interesting,
IQ
very intriguing. I don't know that to be fact. It's just I'm just asking you what's your thoughts on that. Do you think each level of every? I think are they 9 levels or 13 levels? I can't remember.
Are you talking about the Chichen Itza pyramid?
Yeah, the pyramids themselves. The pyramids themselves. Each one is a level of human consciousness and a spontaneous jump in each consciousness.
Well, sure. It is interesting.
What kind of nonsense is this show host? What is he smoking? Give me some of it.
Of course, on every dollar bill, does have 13 courses, and the basic Mayan calendar.
Jimmy Church was abducted by aliens now. He must need material too.
398 years, and so the whole cycle adds up to 5,125 years. But I also like to not get hung up just on the Mayan calendar and look at it from a grander perspective. Graham Hancock did really seminal work with Fingerprints of the Gods, came out in 1996. That's when I got it, when it came out.
Isn't it interesting that the show host directly asked David Wilcock what he thinks about 2012? And David Wilcock forgets to tell the show host that he predicted we'd all get superpowers in 2012, but none of that happened, right? It's like David Wilcock has a selective memory, like, well, can't talk about all those failed predictions I made about 2012, so I'll talk about some other nonsense.
And he talked about 2 historians, Giorgio de Santillana and Hertha von Deschen. And they surveyed an amazing amount of stuff. They were at the top of their game. They had many published papers. They're credible academics. And they wrote a book called Hamlet's Mill, which was their grand unified theory of history. And what they found was that 35 different cultures all over the earth had the same legends about some type of transformation of humankind that takes place at the end of this age that we're in. And they all of these 35 different traditions had very strange, mathematically encoded references to a very little known cycle in the earth called the precession of the equinoxes. And this is the cycle.
And here we go with Wilcock connecting dots that don't exist.
Cycle that causes the stars to drift by 1 degree every 72 years. So that if you're trying to build a pyramid, if you align it to a certain star, 72 years later, it's going to be.
He's just going to change the date of the superpowers in 2025. He already has done that above the clouds. Thanks for being a member.
So
Then
when you look
2030,
at
if it doesn't
this
work like the
work of
rapture.
Santayana and Von Descend that Graham Hancock talked about,
Yes,
they found that every
absolutely.
single culture had been given so-called mythologies that talk about this same phenomenon. They talk about the 25,000-year cycle.
Yeah, there's no way that legends can, go across cultures. I'm sorry. Both of these guys are just so dumb, and the nonsense coming out of both their mouths is so ridiculous that I can't. I'm just bowing out. And if we check into our poll, let me check. Sorry for the dead air there. Okay, so it appears that we asked in our Truth Seekers poll, who is dumber, the show host or David Wilcock? 67% of you said the show host is dumber than David Wilcock. Well, there you have it. The show host is definitely dumber than David Wilcock. Maybe he's punch drunk. I feel a little bad for the guy. The bull is getting deep in there. Yes, so I'll take a couple of comments and questions from the live chat. We appreciate every one of you kind and generous benefactors. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. So we appreciate each and every one of you. And also, I don't know if I put it in the live chat. We want to, or I did put, you can also send a PayPal pledge. So we want to thank Maria for a kind and generous $50 PayPal pledge. And Maria says, glad to see you post a show on Corey Goode. I hope you put the rest back up. Yeah, we're probably going to do that. So thank you, Maria, for a kind and generous $50 PayPal pledge. We love and appreciate you. Thanks for loving and appreciating us and helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
I want to take a moment to thank Mike Larry for a kind and generous, I think he bought like 200 coffees or something like that on Buy Me a Coffee. That's what I wasn't sure. For those unaware, we'll be using the Buy Me a Coffee again. I've finally connected it to the Truth Seekers bank account. There were some issues. They used to just let you take it out on PayPal. Then now you have to sign up for Stripe. I've done all that. So you can buy me a coffee and also support the show. And we'll be calling each of those out on every show. Every show that somebody buys me a coffee or sends a PayPal pledge or we read each and every super chat. So pardon me. Yeah, Mike Larry bought 60 coffees. 60 times 5. Very, very generous of you, Mike Larry. And the reason Mike Larry did that is he wasn't aware that YouTube takes 30% of our income here, whether it's gifted memberships, super chats, super thanks, super stickers. 30% of that is kept by YouTube. It's only, I think, a couple of percent if you use the Buy Me a Coffee. And 1 second here, I'm going to go over there and I will put the link for Buy Me a Coffee is buymeacoffee.com/truth seekers. Just one word, TRUTHSEEKERS. Just go to Buy Me a Coffee, search for Truth Seekers, one word. You'll see me, the strange guy with sunglasses, and you too can buy me a coffee. Now, I realize it says buy me a beer, but I'm trying to avoid alcoholic beverages, so we'll change it back to buy me a tea. I don't drink coffee. I don't know what it is, but I've never drank coffee. That's one bad habit I have never gotten into, which I'm thankful for. Stargirl Riki says 30%. Ouch. Yes. And then when you consider that on top of that, then I have to pay 30% in income tax on top of the 30. So every time somebody sends a super chat, we really lose 60%. I wish there was a better system, but people like the super chat system because, it puts their message up in bright colors and then it gets recognized on the show. Pathfinder says, buy me a fridge. Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not getting sick. It's terrible smoker's cough. I'm trying to quit again still. I still have the vapes, and every day I say charge the vapes, and I try them, but I'm still stupid, essentially. So what we've learned from David Wilcock's latest stream is that he really needs money. He's repeating himself endlessly. The loan for Stati still hasn't come through. Stati still hasn't produced any products or services for sale, but they've got $1 million deals with NATO countries coming in. And if you believe that, I've got some oceanfront property in Arizona. And if you'll buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate Bridge in for free. Yeah. Bro, there's your money if you quit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Bad habits. I have a friend who's very wealthy, and one of the things he said to me that made a lot of sense is he said, I have never indulged in bad, expensive habits. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do any drugs. And I've taken all the money that I would do with those bad habits and instead invested it in various things. So good advice from a wealthy person. We want to thank Thomas Robinson for a kind and generous £3 super sticker. And also thank you for being a member and for recognizing the hard work that we do here. Thanks for appreciating us. We certainly appreciate you and everybody out there helping us to praise the cat.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
And also a big thank you to Mike Larry, who bought something like 60 coffees, which is a big chunk of money. We love and appreciate you. Thank you for kindness, generosity, and support, Mike Larry, and all of you kind and generous Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right. We thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We'll take a few comments from the live chat. Yes, Above the Clouds, thanks for being a member, says, hard to quit all things addicting. Yeah. And by the way, I feel a little better about begging for money for the show here. I used to watch the Young Turks, and I don't remember exactly what happened, but I like to get all sides of the story. So I used to watch CNN and Fox News, and I would watch the Young Turks, and also I would watch Tim Pool IRL and a few other shows like that, try to keep it balanced. But I stopped watching the Young Turks. I can't remember why. St. Uger, whatever, they said really ridiculous. I can't remember, but he did something ridiculous, and I just stopped watching him. Haven't tuned into the Young Turks in forever. And recently I have, because of all the Biden news and Trump news. I wanted to get the liberal perspective, stay balanced. And boy, I was shocked and amazed because Uger was basically reading all the super chats during a live stream, thanking everybody who became a member. And I thought that he's so huge he doesn't need to do that. But good for him. He's still thanking people and basically begging because they really need money to keep their show going. Cambian, make sure your vape juice is at least 20 milligram or it will be too weak and not satisfy the nicotine cravings. Yeah, I think that the Juul, you can only get it in, 5 milligram or something like that. So maybe that's a problem. It's just not enough. Will the Q-tard grift ever end? Well, I think it's interesting that most of the Q-tards, the grift fell apart, but there's still some diehard Q-tard grifters that refuse to give it up. He was on Piers today with that Vinny guy from PBD podcast. Yeah, I've been watching Piers Morgan again as well. It's funny to see, and I also watched Megyn Kelly recently. I haven't seen Megyn Kelly since she was on Fox News ages ago, but I'm glad to see that she went totally independent. And I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody that worked for her was telling me that she gets $20,000 per ad read. We got to get some ad reads. You want me to sell some shit? I'll do it, especially if it's something like thousands of dollars per ad read. But we don't have that kind of huge audience. She's got millions of subscribers, I believe. But one of the things that I'm very interested in is just media. Being a part of my company is being a media company. And it's interesting to see so many former television personalities that are just going independent. And I feel like, damn, I had a head start going independent, and I should be, well, you can't compare. They have such exposure to millions of people. But there's a lot of people that were working for a television network that are now going completely and totally independent. We've got Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and many others. Is that what it is? Let me see what the Juul, I don't know. Juul pods, what milligram? I'm just going to say Juul pods, what milligram? Juul pods are available in two different strengths, 5% and 3%. According to the manufacturer, 5% of 0.7 milliliters in the pod equals 40 milligram of nicotine per pod. 3% versus 5%. So what did you say? It has to be 40%? What? That's a lot of nicotine. I'm going to give myself a heart attack. What is it that you said? 20 milligram it needs to be. Wow. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm not doing too good on them, because I've only been using the Juuls. I did buy some, there's a vape place near me that sells the, disposables, and they have one called Strawberry Milkshake, which that one I do use, but then I'll still go outside and smoke after I'm vaping on that thing. So Pathfinder says, thanks for tonight's show, Cambian. The Wilcock shows are always great comedy entertainment. Yeah, it's like watching a car wreck. You just can't look away. People ask me why I keep covering it. First of all, people like it here. It's funny, and it's ridiculous to see. What else is this idiot going to say? Piers was on the phone yesterday with Mr. Milwaukee. That's interesting. The most pre-filled nicotine devices are 50 milligram, or they call it 5%. Yeah, good to know. I also want to try those zine things. Somebody gave me one. I was at a friend's house, and somebody gave me one of those. Is that what they're called? Or Zune? I think it's called Zune packets. I don't know. No, I don't know what they're called. They're these little, it's almost like a packet of nicotine, but wintergreen flavor or something. Does anybody know what those things are called? I can't recall off the top of my head, but I had one that was wintergreen, and I can't remember how many milligram it was, but it seemed to be too strong, and I didn't want a cigarette for hours after I had that in my mouth. So I thought that might be a good way to go. Al Garay says, I love the wacky world of Wilcock. Yeah, thank you. And Skibby Wilcock says, Juuls are the most, and most disposables have a lot of nicotine. I'm using something similar. Zyn, that's what it's called. They are cheaper, and you get more. Zyn is the one that I tried that I thought might be a good option to at least vastly reduce. You know, one of the things is I do a lot of editing and work, production work for the shows, and I chain smoke while I do that. So I thought I could try these Zyn things while I'm editing or working, and only smoke when I go outside. My wife hates that I smoke in my office still sometimes. She's got all these HEPA air purifiers. She put one right outside my office. I mean, I don't blame her. She doesn't want that in the house. Tucker uses those. I forget. You want 20 milligram per milliliter. Okay. The On brand comes in 8 milligram, 4 milligram, and 2 milligram. Well, can you get those at 7-Eleven? And what is it called? On pouches? Let me see. I'm looking. This is pretty bad when you're like, does 7-Eleven sell them? I know 7-Eleven sells the Zyn. I have 7-Elevens all near my home, so I'm trying to find something that I could get anywhere. Till milligram work. Yeah, I gotta do it. I can't start another year in January still smoking. I gotta get rid of it. Yeah. So listen, we've done our due diligence. I'm going to bounce on out of here, but I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And there's some good news. A lot of you have been asking me to do more interviews. So we're going to do that. Every week, I'm going to try to do at least one interview. You know, the Steve Cambian solo show gets a little old after a while. People like the guests. They like the interviews. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's been a guest here before, very well received. We've got Luis Caetano will be here, and he'll be talking about his new research paper on Luis Elizondo, and then I'm sure we're going to be talking about, I don't know if you heard this, but a preview of Lou Elizondo's book dropped, and it is hysterical. He's talking about having superpowers just like David Wilcock and being trained by the government and remote viewing. And all these trust me, bro stories. It's everything I hoped it would be, this Luis Elizondo book so far. There's a preview of it, which I will include in tomorrow night's broadcast. I'll include the link. You can find it on Twitter, though. People are talking about, so far, the book highlights some ridiculous stories of Lou Elizondo and his remote viewing, where he remote viewed a terrorist who thought he was an angel, and he shook the terrorist's bed. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. So tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll have an interview with Luis Caetano, who's a great researcher. He and I always have great conversations. I always enjoy them, and I'm sure you will too. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So as far as tonight, that's all I got for you, friends. I'm going to bounce on out of here, but I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, the show that we did at 1 p.m., I got a lot of requests to do more shows at 1 p.m., so I know for sure we're going to be doing a show tomorrow night at 9 p.m., Wednesday night at 9 p.m. I'm not sure if I'm leaving for the cabin on Thursday or Friday. If I don't leave for the cabin on Thursday, I'll be doing a 9 p.m. show on Thursday. But I'm still going to try to cram a 1 p.m. show sometime this week. Maybe we'll do the Trump conspiracies and other stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments or questions. So we've done our due diligence. I'm sure Wilcock will be back next week with more new nonsense for us to digest, and I can't help myself. I got to hear what he says next. Interesting also that I called Stati, and they don't want to answer for why their director of exotic technologies is lying on public live streams, claiming they have generals and 2 admirals on their board of directors, right? He didn't want to answer any more questions. We'll see what happens. So I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you'll be here with me. I want to thank all you kind and generous benefactors, and thank you, the audience. It's the interactivity with you guys that makes this so much more fun. No place I would rather be than right here, and I'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with special guest Luis Caetano. We'll be talking about Lou Elizondo, ATIP, and maybe we'll share some of the book preview because it is gold, friends. So that's all I got for you. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambian. Good night, and God bless all of you.